We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Fusebox.
This is Fusebox number 158, Orange Crushed. And you? Well, you're fired.
Yeah, and don't let those two huge steel doors hit you on the... Yeah. Can we get that orange stain out of that, though?
Oh, yeah, man. Just get a little bartender's helper in there. Take it right out, bro.
Good to know, yeah. Hello, friends. Welcome in to this, the 158th edition of Fusebox, flavorfully entitled Orange Crushed. And I'm your not really here until all the molecules are counted host, Mark Rose, and over there, a veritable blur of precision movements over the dials and faders, is the deacon of decibels himself, Milt Keynes. Everybody.
Thank you kindly. Well, the people have spoken, bro.
Yes, indeed, we have. Mr. Keynes' logic has prevailed, albeit not by very much.
Yeah, who do we talk to about that?
Well, we need to talk about that. But to set the scene, friends, for those of you living in the year 3762 who may not be aware of this event, Joe Biden has been declared president-elect, the 46th president of these United States, a declaration which has met with some opposition from the orange guy and his tentacled minions. Mostly him, though, to be fair.
Yeah, we had some pretty close numbers in some places.
Yeah, we did.
I mean, there's going to be recounts in Wisconsin and, Georgia, I guess?
Oh, yeah, for sure there will be, Mr. Keynes. The now lame duck president is tweeting a firestorm of unsubstantiated accusations of voter fraud and threatening all sorts of legal actions across the whole...
A Fusebox News Update.
Oh, aha, well, wait. And coming now up, there it is. The Fusebox Pneumatic Mail News Tube. What do we got? Okay, oh, and speaking of legal actions, we have a news update here. This just coming in over the Fusebox Newswire. It says President Trump is suing the alphabet for containing the letter B, stating that if it wasn't in there, you couldn't vote for Biden.
Oh, that's weak.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like more testing for COVID-19 causes more cases. Jeebus. You know, I'm not in the least going to miss this sort of head-up-the-ass logic.
A lot of folks thought he was spot on, bro.
That I find troubling. 70-plus million folks, as you say, thought that the orange guy was not only doing just great, but give him another 4 years.
Yeah, but you know what? This is what really blows. Is that if he had won, there was nowhere to go. I mean, the rest of the damn world has closed its door to travel from us here because why? Because this maroon has done nothing to stem the spread of this virus crap. We're all a bunch of typhoid Marys in their eyes.
And they would be seeing in perfect 20/20 vision, Mr. Keynes.
I saw what you did there.
Clearly. Oh, God. Well, there was a celebration all over the place, as you might well imagine, on Saturday when it became obvious that Joe Biden was headed towards victory. Impromptu gatherings popped up pretty much everywhere on Earth, as it turns out, to show support for the upcoming transition.
Yeah, now that upcoming transition is another thing. Will he just go?
It's up for grabs. We certainly hope so. There are provisions for this situation, too, however. Really. And I've read that even a couple of, at least, of his own family members there have suggested that he exit gracefully.
Well, you know that won't happen. There is no gracefully in that guy's playbook.
Would be a first. And thankfully, a last, if he did.
You know, there's been talk about him immediately setting up a campaign for 2024.
Yeah. And to add to that, he has already started a legal defense fund to help with dealing with the issue of recounts, which, by the way, for the state of Wisconsin, it's going to cost Orange Guy about 3 million smackers for that privilege. And here's how commentator Keith Olberman put it.
It has long been true that Trump thinks he can sue his way out of anything. For decades, he has been notorious in New York construction circles for paying 90 cents on the dollar and then telling people to sue him for the rest of it, knowing that would cost them more if they do so. My dad warned me about him in 1980. But so far, the Trump campaign has filed 10 lawsuits over this election, and each has been rejected. This raises the question of what exactly the Trump campaign legal defense fund is really for. Trump World has sent out dozens of fundraising texts and emails each day soliciting donations to the legal defense fund, and yet there at the bottom of the donation page is our answer. Contributions to the defense fund will be allocated according to the following formula: 60% for the retirement of general election debt, 40% to the RNC's operating account. Small portions of donations to the recounts only go to the recounts after all the other election expenses are paid off. Otherwise, 60% of the money goes to the campaign, and 40% goes to the Republican National Committee. It's a scam! It's another goddamn Trump scam!
Oy. Smelling like that famous burnt to a crackly crunch kind of con. It's a good thing he's Florida bound, huh? A true scamster's paradise right there.
You know, the guy could go pardon happy, too. It's happened before. Might even try to pardon himself.
Yeah, I've heard that. But one little thing to observe on the whole pardon thing, this is kind of important. Pardons refer to federal laws only, okay? Not state laws. So the fistful of lawsuits pending out there, particularly those of interest to the Southern District of New York, are state law issues. He will have his tiny orange hands quite filled.
Oh, so we can still get toasted for those other things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got a bunch of civil cases, not the least of which is that most recent sexual assault allegation by columnist Elizabeth Jean Carroll. I mean, the sexual misconduct lawsuits, they're overwhelming. I mean, the list just keeps... Oh, wait.
A Fusebox News Update.
Aha, another pneumatic moment here. Okay, so, speaking of litigation, we have another development of the Orange Guy's legal tactics. Says the president has filed a lawsuit against the atmosphere, claiming that it is clearly a radical left organism trying to permeate the very fabric of his America and therefore radicalize the populace.
He didn't write that.
No. Looks like Stephen Miller did. Yeah.
Oh, don't make me laugh.
thefuseboxshow.com.
And we're winning Wisconsin. We're winning Michigan, but most importantly, we're winning Pennsylvania.
Yeah, kind of how it went, friends. You know, even with all the recounts, the margins, although not horribly overwhelming, we're not going to see a big change in the final results here.
You know, back in 2000 when Florida was hanging itself on its chads, well, there was a time when we were talking like, 500 vote difference and shit? I mean, yeah, now that right there, a recount was needed. Still not sure we got the real deal there, but whatever.
Yeah, that was way close. And I know that the Orange Guy's followers will say it's some kind of scam, but can we just look for a moment at the logic of this thing?
Are you shitting me? Oh, they don't want logic, man. They want magical thinking. It's the only way you can get through the absolute batshit crazy ideas they come up with.
Well, just for the record here, many of the states in question had rules put in place, by the way, by Republican judiciaries that made it absolutely unlawful to count mail-in ballots before the in-person ballots were tabulated. Meaning, of course, that those mail-in ballots would sit over there politely in a mountainous pile until the others were first counted. So, as we know from past statistics, Republican voters prefer to vote in person, and Democrats overwhelmingly prefer to mail the ballot in. So, the, quote, red mirage they created from tabulating these votes was just surpassed by the amount of Democratic votes that they had not yet tabulated. That's why the numbers went from red to blue in what seemed to them to be some kind of magic.
I said, what happened to the election? It's off. And we have all these announcers saying, what happened? And then they said, oh.
Yeah, it's like you said, bro. They believe if you don't test for the vid, you don't have cases.
It just starts to sound like medieval times, though, doesn't it?
So if she drowns, she's not a witch.
Yeah. Now, maybe, just maybe, what they're really arguing here is on a whole other quantum physics type of level, you know? Where nothing really happens or comes into being until someone actually experiences it. I mean, seriously, that's a pretty sophisticated logic path.
Yeah, I think they're just asshats, bro.
Yeah, probably. I'll tell you another thing that happened in this election. The war on drugs just got carpet bombed.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah. Absolutely every state in the union that had a decriminalization or legalization measure on the ballot, all of them passed, including some states in the Northeast like New Jersey that finally, after years of trying to figure it all out, passed it into law. Now, I get that, too. I know, particularly out here in Oregon, it's been legal for several years, but it took some time for the infrastructure to be built and function the way it was intended, and I'm still not sure it is yet functioning as it was intended, but it is up and running.
Yeah, the thing we're seeing out here is that big companies are swallowing up the little guy as per usual. So it's harder to compete, and the supply seems to be greater than the demand out here, too.
Yeah, I actually heard that, too. We're drowning in CDB gummy bears out here. I'm seeing more products experimenting with CBD oils, by the way. Just saw a kombucha product with CDB in it. CDB is one of the active ingredients in cannabis. This one doesn't change your consciousness level, but has been shown to have some very beneficial healing properties, though.
Yeah, it's the THC to get you to new time zones.
Yes, Mr. Keynes, it certainly can. Out here, not surprisingly, also Measure 109, the Psilocybin Program Initiative, has decriminalized the use of psilocybin mushroom for medical purposes and clinical dispensing and supervision. Now that was a thing.
Yeah, well, you know what? So was Measure 110.
Yep.
Drug Decriminalization and Addiction Treatment Initiative. This one said that any drug found in small amounts is okay now.
Yeah, so Oregon now becomes the first state in the U.S. to decriminalize all drugs. That, of course, raises a whole bunch of eyebrows around parts of the country.
Well, fuck them if they can't take a joke. Oh, and by the way, you know what? They just did a similar thing in Washington, D.C. They decriminalized psychedelic plants.
Yeah, as I mentioned at the top there, literally every state that had a legalized or decriminalized ballot measure, they all passed.
Oh, man. Nancy Reagan would be turning over in her grave.
And get a mouthful of dirt, you know? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say that was a huge win, bro.
It is. And let's not forget, it's also a huge opportunity for pharmaceutical companies to cash in on the formulations or what they will soon create, hybridizations thereof.
Yeah, that's always a little weird.
Yeah, there's always going to be consequences to all these actions. Some great, some like looking down the mouth of a giant razor-toothed sandworm, but there you go. Oh, and speaking of giant sucker-mouthed sandworms, this...
A Fusebox News Update.
Oh, another legal development pneumatic tubement. Here, wait a minute. Okay, yes, Orange Guy has just filed a class action suit against all registered Democrats, stating that if they weren't registered, then he would have won.
Wait, isn't that backwards? How can he file as a class? He's just one guy.
Good point there, Mr. Keynes.
Is he a fat guy?
Well, he does have considerable mass.
That Steve Bannon guy was suspended for life from Twitter, I guess.
That was the sandworm I was referring to, Mr. Keynes. Yes, indeed. After calling for the beheading of Dr. Anthony Fauci, Twitter decided that perhaps that was a wee far and kicked him out. You know, look, we've addressed this stuff many times on the show before, and frankly, my personal opinion is that the Bannon guy here, well, he's out of his Breitbart-loving mind. But here's the thing. In my most personal and humble of opinions, all of these infernal social media platforms are still talking out of both sides of their neck. Okay? You're either going to be a free and open platform for discourse, or you're not. You can't say that you're a free and open platform for discourse and then shut the steel door down on someone when their particular view does not line up with your popular views. Or, yes, you can shut the big steel door down and say, hey, this is our platform, abide by these rules, or get the hell off our digital lawn. It's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Problem here is, they say both. They put out the shingle as a place to express opinion, but the second that opinion either disturbs the advertiser base or maybe the political or moral stance of some nebulous and highly vague tentacle somewhere, bang! Down comes the door, and you are forever street pizza. All I'm saying is, be one or be the other. This Janus face thing going on right now is just disingenuous at the very, very least. Oh, and believe me, I know what that more chaotic side of the thing looks like. Yeah, I've been there, read some of that stuff. It's wacky, but it's their wacky. And in a truly free social platform, that stuff would sink or rise as it would. Just saying.
There is that 70 million figure.
I know. Perhaps more abundant than any would have suspected. But I bet, just to play the devil's subcommittee chairman for a moment, I bet if you looked deep, right, you'd find that many of those folks who voted for the orange guys aren't all gun-touting, camouflage-wearing, bearded guys driving semis. Many are just normal folks who, for whatever reasons, just preferred the orange guy's brand of juice.
Been known to be a little seedy at times.
We all regretfully saw what you did there. It's really a good thing, too, actually, to see these margins. I think it's really clear that there is, as we've known for some time, a rather large division in this country, and a great many things need to be rethought. And as much as I personally appreciate the renaming of some military bases that glorify generals in the Civil War, not a huge priority now, you know? I think getting people healthy and some jingle back in the pockets there, that should be number one.
Yeah, it sounds like Biden's already on this COVID thing. He's assembled a transition team. I mean, for fuck's sake, people are dropping dead from this thing at higher levels than when it was at its so-called peak.
True that. No doubt either. We need to make that a number one priority. The head in the sand remedy is just it's clearly a bad idea.
Yeah, and you just get kicked in the ass anyway.
Oh, I feel so compelled to comment on the flash press conference that lawyer and man hearing voices in other people's heads, Rudy Giuliani, hosted at the Four Seasons.
Oh, yeah. I thought I had hacked up a lung. I was laughing so hard at that.
Oh, man. Yes, this on the surface sounds like they were going to have the event at a prestigious five-star hotel there in town. Turns out the Four Seasons was the name of a landscaping company located quite a ways outside of town. They had their, quote, urgent press conference, end quote, in the parking lot of a landscaping company next door to the porn shop and across the street from the crematorium.
You just can't make this shit up, man.
Who would believe it? And I still got to ask, what do the orange guy supporters see when stuff like this happens?
Nothing. They see Rudy telling them that Bernie Sanders was seen hauling away huge sacks of Republican ballots in a lime green 73 AMC Pacer.
Oh, and as we know, that's really a lie because Bernie sold that car 3 years ago. Oh, God, yes, it's indeed a crazy, mixed-up mess, and there is a long road ahead to undo the damage done, not only to our democracy, but to our credibility in the eyes of the world.
Well, I know President Harris is up to it.
Well, you know, we're laughing, but...
I know, bro.
Right. Well, smart choice. It's very smart choice there. On so many levels. But what can I say? And with our third eye looking to the horizon, we'll call it a show, friends, and take our bags of uncounted ballots and frivolous lawsuits and squeeze back down between the car seats. But not before thanking our contributors to this edition of the program, Keith Olberman and Mr. Jeff Pollard. By the way, check out Keith's daily feed on YouTube if you have not. A link is cleverly placed in the show notes for you there. Always a delight. Thanks, as always, to the bipedal excellence of the grand poobah of the parametric plane, Milt Keynes, for technical assistance and money laundering.
Pleasure as always. Oh, and thanks to all you folks, too. We did it. Now, let's try and beat this virus thing, and we'll be good to go. So stay safe out there.
Yes, I second that motion, Mr. Keynes, and indeed, let's all do our part to stay as safe as possible during this phase, as it seems to be going out of its mind again. It is the season when this viri crap tends to get a bit more active and even more insidious, so we don't want to help it along. As always, if you have not as yet subscribed to this very humble audio offering, please do! Wherever you may have found us, be it Apple Podcasts, Google or Amazon Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or even the very ONSUG itself at ONSUG.com. We would so very much appreciate having your presence accounted for, and it just makes it an automatic process. We just turn up in your library there, as if by magic. So, once again, congratulations to President-elect Joe Biden and Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. You cats got your work cut out for you. I have been your present but not yet accounted for host, Mark Rose, saying, until our next cartoon.
Fusebox.
I said, what happened to the election? It's off.